points to pick up on there. You mentioned right at the end there, it was all in God's plan. Your faith, your Christian faith, has meant such a lot to you, hasn't it, John?
It transformed my life, Carl, because I can't emphasise enough just what a shy, introverted, negative kind of person I was as a teenager. And when I say football was my life, it was because I really did feel that was the only thing I was any good at.
Yeah, yeah.
So then to suddenly find I could no longer play football, well, I felt I was no good for anything. I got no talent, no ability, and I really withdrew even more into my shell. But I went to London on this typing course, and it was about 8 months long, the course was. And at the end of the course, I passed my exams and did really well, and that gave me confidence. But my typing teacher started talking to me about God, which was a bit off-putting. And she said, "You are a Christian, aren't you, John?" I said, "Well, I suppose I am. I was christened when I was a baby, and I've never done any wrong, and I used to go to church, but don't go anymore, but I still think I'm a Christian." But she wasn't satisfied with that. She said, "I think being a Christian is a little bit more than that, John." She said, have you heard the phrase being born again?" I said, "No, I never heard that," because it wasn't an in phrase then, like it is today. She said, "Well, I'm a born again Christian." I said, "Well, what's that all about then?" So she showed me in the Bible where Jesus said to Nicodemus, "You must be born again." And she said, "Why don't you come along to church, to Westminster Chapel, which is where I go and some of my friends go?" And I was a bit scared about going, but not wishing to appear a coward. I did reluctantly agree to go. And Carl, it was the night that changed my life.
Really?
Because I got into Westminster Chapel that night, my knees were knocking. I thought I won't know the songs, I won't know when to stand, when to sit, I won't know the prayers. But when I got in there, the joyful atmosphere, there were so many young people, there must have been 1,000 people there that night. I was inspired by the hymns, and even the preacher inspired me as well. But when I got to the end, the youth leader called Mark, he had a word with me, and he said, "What did you think of that, John?" I said, "I really enjoyed it." He said, "What, are you going to come back?" I said, "I don't know." But he said to me, he said, "Would you like to sit down and have a chat?" I said, "Yeah, I would actually." So over a cup of tea, I said to him, I said, "Mark, if you could say to me, if you could prove to me that Jesus Christ is really alive, I would follow him." He said, "Well, I'm ever so sorry, I can't prove that to you." He said, "But neither can I prove to you that I love my wife. But if you came and lived in my house with us as a family for a month, hopefully at the end of that month you would go away and say, yes, Mark does love his wife because I've experienced love in the home." He said, "All I can say to you, John, is if you will take a step of faith and pray and ask Jesus to come into your heart, in a month's time you'll be different, and that will be the proof." And I thought that was too simplistic. But he led me in a prayer, I asked Jesus into my heart, and people came up and shook my hand, gave me a hug. I really felt loved, but I didn't feel any different. And when I went back to the people I was staying with and told them what I'd done, they just laughed at me. Because I was staying with some people then in North London, and they just thought I'd been brainwashed. And everybody said, "John, that's a load of rubbish. You've been really tricked and you've gone into something really bad." And so I tried to give it up. But what happened was, I was travelling back on the coach from London to Birmingham one night. And on that coach I was turning it all over in my mind, thinking, was I conned or was it real?
Yeah.
And in my mind I thought, I was really in turmoil.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I know, I'm going to pray a prayer, and if God answers my prayer, I know it's real. And I thought, what can I pray? I was 21 years of age and I'd never had a girlfriend. And then under my breath I prayed, "Dear God, if you really have come into my heart and you are real, will you please bless me with a girlfriend?" And 10 days later, I met the girl that's to become my wife. We were down at the College Arms down in Erdington. No longer exists, I believe, but we were there one night, and my friend and I with my mum and dad, because my dad used to play the piano in pubs, and we used to love going around the pubs. And my dad said to me, "John, I got some good news for you." I said, "What's that, Dad?" He said, "The Cockles and Mussels band's here." And my dad share this love of cockles and mussels. So I had a bag of cockles, and I was brought up right to share, so I said to the people around the table, "Would you like a cockle?" Hoping they would say no, because you don't get many people, do you? And this girl was sat on my right, and she'd come in with my sister, and I said to this girl, "Would you like a cockle?" She said, "No, thank you." But she's now my wife. It's 100% success chatterpline, Carl, I promise you. And that's all I said to her all night was, would you like a cockle?
It's lucky you never asked if she wanted a muscle.
That's it. But at the end of the night, my dad invited everybody back to our house for a party.
As they did.
So she came back with my sister, and my sister said to me, John, will you play a record for Sylvia? Because she's desperately unhappy, she's in a relationship that she's not happy with, and she's really, really sad. So will you play her a record? Because I used to hide at the corner of parties and play the records, because I hated the thought of dancing. So I stuck up the corner, I said, okay, and after I'd had a few pints, I had a bit of courage. So I said, here is a song, Mr. Pitiful, by Otis Redding, and it's especially for Sylvia. So she came over to me, took me by the hand, and said, how did you know that's my favourite record? Would you like to dance?
Goodness me.
And so Sylvia and I had this smooch around my mum and dad's lounge to Mr. Pitiful by Otis Redding, and that's how I met Sylvia now. Eventually she became my wife. God answered my prayer.
And from there then, was there a blinding experience that God was there, or was it more these things were happening that cumulatively transformed you into a born-again Christian?
That's right, it was that cumulative effect where I began to find that I was saying simple down-to-earth prayers, and they began to be answered. Even to the point of getting a job. Having met Sylvia, I got a job in Birmingham at the Inland Revenue. Originally it was in Clay Lane down in Shelby, and then they moved into Birmingham to King Edward House, so I worked there. But God just began to answer prayers, and Sylvia and I began to go to St Martin's. I tell you, Carl, we were so naive, we didn't know what church to go to. Because we said, well, we don't know about this Christianity business, which church to go to? And I thought, well, we're not Catholics, so we must be Protestant. So let's go to the biggest, it must be the best. So we went to St Martin's when Canon Brian Green was coming towards the end of his tenure there. And he was really inspirational and very provocative, and I do like a provocative sermon, otherwise I fall asleep. And so we started going to St Martin's, and then our faith grew together, and then we just had a desire that this new faith we discovered, we wanted to share with others. So we began, after we were married, we began to open up our home on the Wiley Birch estate where we used to live, and invite the children, and we used to have children in our home on a Monday night, teenagers on a Friday night, and we were getting so many kids into our home, we had to open up the community centre. We called it One Way Special. At its peak we had 180 kids every Monday night coming to One Way Special. There was like a Sunday school on a Monday night.
Brilliant.
So we just love sharing our faith with others, and we've never lost that really. We just love talking about Jesus wherever we go.